All right, welcome to the next edition of the Snowflake Sports podcast. I am your host, Dan. It is approximately 7:45 on September 24th on a Tuesday, and I am joined by my resident Raider fan, Chris Amato. How you doing, Chris?
Yep, unfortunately, I'm the correspondent of probably the bleakest franchise right now
No.
in the NFL.
Not at all.
Well,
The Dolphins?
The thing is, because this was supposed to be where they're supposed to win, right? This isn't a tanking situation. It almost feels like you have a team that's like very bad. At least there's the comfort that like, oh, you know what, things are going to be like they haven't even started that process yet. In fact, they were already supposed to have started that process. Now it's like they got to go through this whole thing again, where it's like, what is the foundation of the team? Do we have to get something else? It's changed so much. The last time I was on here like a month ago, I don't know. I felt a lot more optimistic. I know things seemed weird even back then with AB, but at least it was like you had this idea that once the game started, things would be okay.
But you made a good point where if they didn't win that Broncos game, they could have easily started 0-6. They used to have
that's honestly like about to be true. It
schedule.
Looks like. Yeah, like they needed that to get because it's Monday Night Football. There was, whether AB was there or not, it was like okay, like what is this team? And especially against a Broncos team that's not supposed to be good. Turns out is not good, which is great for the AFC, which, in general, I think, one reason I'm not totally in despair is because the AFC is so bad. Right now, actually, the Raiders are the 7 seed.
No, wait, at 1 and 2? Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, they have a tiebreaker because of when the wild card standings, your conference records are tiebreaker. And so, and the thing is, then luckily they faced a team on Sunday that's right ahead of them in the 6th spot, which is the Colts. Not that I think this is a game that they're going to win, but it's like, well, it could happen, and if they do, they're right there, and all of a sudden it's like, it's not so bad when you probably lose that Bears game next week because they're the NFC, doesn't hurt you too much in the tiebreaker. The question is, though, like how much will Khalil Mack embarrass them, in front of a national audience, in an international stage like that. So there's a lot to worry about, but if they just hang around 500, the back half of their schedule, they finally have home games again, and a lot of easier teams that at least so far look like they're going to be pretty easy to beat, or if you're a good team at least. So, they just got to survive at this point. They got screwed. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Even Gruden finally started complaining about it. He tried to pass it off earlier in the offseason, but he's really been getting more mad about it now that he actually has to experience it seems like. And, not having a home game on November 3rd is just...
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah. I mean, they kind of... Because I feel like the organization itself doesn't really want to play in Oakland because they pretty much got guilt-tripped into it. But
yeah, well, I think that's part of it, too, is like their delay in the stadium leasing, like, apparently was like a part of like why the schedule was so screwed up for them, because the league didn't know when they could book certain teams, because it's a very, it's intricate. I think anyone would know that. There's a lot of things you got to coordinate to make a schedule, and because of that delay, I don't know if maybe it was on a spite or just like because of the state of things, but they were just like, here's what you got to do to play. Here's the games you're playing this year. Like, we didn't make any consideration for your well-being, like they normally might have a little bit. And I think that's a big part of it, honestly. Like, I've never been, at least compared to most Raider fans, I've never been someone to think that like the league, at least not at this point, is like actually trying to like, fuck them over, like really get after them. This isn't the 80s anymore where Al Davis and the league were feuding all the time. I don't think that's what happened. I think it's just because their stadium problems, which are partially their fault. And also, I don't blame the city either for not allowing them to just take a bunch of tax money, they tried to make the team pay up and make a contribution, and they wouldn't. So, I don't blame the city for any of this either.
I think it's all on the organization. Like,
yeah.
Up front. They should not play in the baseball stadium. Like, how... You're a $1 billion franchise. You're one of the better,
they've always been like
more revenue, but
yeah, they've always been short on like actual cash though, right? Like they've been able to, that family, that ownership group, they're not independent. They weren't like independently wealthy, right? They weren't guys who got rich doing other stuff. The way, even Jerry Jones, even though he actually runs the football operations, he made his money off of like oil and energy, I'm pretty sure, before doing that.
Yeah.
So, whereas with the Davis family, like, it was all football. Like, Al Davis was an early AFL guy, and that league got big and merged with the NFL, and as a principal owner, he made a lot of money out of that. So it's not the same kind of wealth that you see. So that's why they've always had stadium problems, really, for most of their history now at this point, because they've never had that kind of excess cash to kind of just drop. With that said, though, a lot of other teams that get new stadiums, they kind of just survive off of, tax credits and stuff when they build stadiums. Also, it's unclear why I think maybe it's just because the politics in Oakland, I just don't think allow that kind of thing, which is good, I think, from a civic perspective. But it just leads to things like this where you just have these dead zone seasons. Where they're just, you can't count on the scheduling being something that's going to be in your favor.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the whole state of California, though, because San Diego was also like, we're not paying for your stadium. And then, I guess then they moved to LA, so it doesn't really
change
anything.
Yeah, I think also it was a little bit different, too, because I think the Chargers actually could pay, but there were like some credit, like tax credit, tax break kind of thing, where they, it was a little bit different because the Raiders were just like, we really can't do anything here. Whereas Vegas has gambling revenue, so everybody wins. The Raiders don't really have to pay a whole lot, compared to what they would have had to pay. And they also don't have to say that they're taking people's tax money because it's all just gambling revenue.
Yeah. Well, that's good. All right, so last time you were on, pretty much the Antonio Brown thing was that he wouldn't wear a helmet, and it seemed like he would be a Raider, at least for one snap.
Yeah, it seems so like almost adorable back then. Now, right? It's like that was such a long time ago. Like you look at like the problems then, it was like, oh, he's got the weird little foot thing. How quirky and weird that is. And now it's like, oh, like he is. He's got severe issues, and he's being accused of sexual assault. It's like, it's just a totally different story, and so many different things have happened over the last 4 weeks that it's staggering. Honestly, it's just like what happened. Now he's taking online classes at Central Michigan. Who knew we'd be at
really?
this?
I did not see
that. That came out yesterday. Yeah,
that's great.
3 weeks into the season, that's where we'd be with him.
Yeah. So Raiders cut him and saved what, $29 million?
I think it was 15 million in base cap space
for this year, but I think next year too. I think they
he was going to ramp up because the extension was they made him the highest paid receiver ever.
Yeah,
something they really were hey, you're going to be our franchise guy.
Yeah,
but I mean that's the upside too, is there isn't long term damage from this. It really, because of how it was within a 48-hour window of the season starting, of how close it was to the start of the year, it was how do you just on the fly replace it's just this void in the offense like that,
Yeah.
There's this guy who the thing is though, they were used to train, like they said, they're used to training without him, with practicing without him, because of all the things that happen, but still in your head, when you're designing the roster, you can run the plays with all you want. But you're designing the roster around a certain level of talent. And when all of a sudden the talent you thought you were going to have the whole time, and that the players thought they were going to have with them the whole time, is gone, you can just feel that something's missing in the offense, right? You can just, when you watch them, you just feel that first game, it looked like everybody was just popping, right? There was nobody where Carr couldn't throw to and they wouldn't make a play. Or anytime Carr was throwing it, you never felt nervous. You felt like it was going to go exactly where it needed to be. But then these last couple games, it's just you feel a lot like last year all of a sudden. Even they had substantially less talent even last year, where it's just okay, where's the ball going to, how are they going to get, 4 yards feels huge. That kind of, it's where...
Oh yeah, 4-yard gain, let's go.
Yeah, it's just wow, a little slasher there, right? Look at that. Falling forward.
Well,
he's at 6.7 yards per pass. That's fourth lowest in the league, so it's not what it looked like that first game, and it's not what they said earlier in the offseason that they were going to try and do. So it's baffling, honestly.
Yeah, but Darren Waller, at least I picked him up in our fantasy league, and he's been killing it.
I have him in my other league as well.
Yeah. So.
I think it's a Raiders record, I think, of most catches through 3 games.
Yeah. What, he got, what, 14 last game alone?
Like, 13 or 14. I mean, they were the whole hype all offseason. They did a little bit of a hard knocks, but I think when you read about what was going on in camp and who could be someone who could really step up, and Darren Waller was literally called like a secret weapon, not only by Gruden, but by, I think it was by SB Nation had an article that referred to him as that. It was like kind of something that was a little bit expected by people who were, reading about them every day or, maybe even watching the practices every day. So, it's something that it's one thing that I kind of envisioned for, not that I thought he'd be breaking records already, but that I kind of envisioned would happen this year. But, besides, I would prefer if AB was there as well. But, he's so young too. I think he's still in his mid-20s maybe. He's 27 at the oldest. I hope he's not that old.
I think he's like 25. I feel like he got drafted like 3 years ago or something.
Yeah, I mean, as Hard Knocks went over, he had all kinds of problems that he seems to. By the way, he's on Spotify, apparently.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's D-Wall.
D-Wall.
He has a song called Booker T that I listened to that was pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very very interesting, little kind of genre rap. He's got a good thing going.
Okay. I guess according to Wikipedia, he's the great grandson of jazz legend Fats Waller.
Wow, that is awesome, dude.
I have no idea. You know who this guy is?
No, I don't know who Fats Waller is, but
okay.
They say he's a jazz legend. I'll assume that they're right.
All right, he's 27 years old, by the way.
Well, that's still pretty young. They got a good few years out of him still.
Yeah.
I mean, you hope they don't just let him go, right? You feel like anything that's good that happens just isn't going to last with them. He'll somehow be off the team or something dumb will happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the most predictable thing would be that he starts taking drugs again and that he gets suspended for 8 games. And then,
right. I hope not.
But no.
It seems like
it seems like he's fine.
Yeah, without saying this, without even knowing the guy at all.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
He seems. Yeah, I mean, by what everyone's saying, it really seems like. I feel like with the progress he's made, it'd be harder than ever to go back to that. But you never know. I mean, you've seen stories like this in the NFL, but I think it's more likely that it's just there's some contract issue, or once it's time for him to get paid, all of a sudden they're they let him go like Khalil Mack, some shit like that.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so I tried watching the highlights. So last night of the Raiders-Vikings game, and I passed out.
That is not something you should have done here.
No, not at all. Well, I just wanted because I haven't watched a single Raiders game. Just watched the House of Highlights or whatever. And I mean, I feel like the Vikings are good though.
They're very good. Yeah, it has been. What you would think going into the year, we're expected to be 2 very good teams, Vikings and Chiefs. The Vikings maybe, they looked a little weak at one point. I mean, it's only 3 games in. They look a little more vulnerable, last year and the early part of this year. But, they came out, they didn't even have Barrett at all. He was injured, or Anthony Barr, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
He, 4-time Pro Bowl linebacker, and it was no sweat. I mean, when that came out, that morning, I think that it was confirmed that he was going to be out of the game. And I was like, okay, you'll be able to get some yards going here.
Yeah.
And that didn't matter at all. Nope. They didn't need him at all. Everybody was blanketed. There was nowhere to put the ball. And then when there were guys open, Carr just would lob it over their head on accident, So a lot of it was his fault as well. It was just a weird, complete lack of offensive rhythm. It was it was unclear. It was hard to see it's like they had some voodoo going on, or they just really can't play on the road. I don't know what it is. I mean, they're 1-10 or 1-11 in their last 12 road games.
Oh, okay. So we'll talk about the Bills later. But do you know that Josh Allen stat that's he had 6 games over 200 yards consecutively, and the last Buffalo Bill quarterback to do that was Jim Kelly in '92 or something?
It was like 94, I
Or
think.
94,
Yeah.
yeah. 200 yards. Like,
They still haven't had a 300-yard game, have they?
no, I don't think he hasn't had one this year. He
I don't think
hovers
they've
around
had
250.
one. I don't think they've had one in like 2 years, dude.
No,
Because Tyrod's never
be
thrown
one game. Like Matt Barkley against the Jets that one year had to be.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't think Allen's ever had one though, right?
Well, definitely not Tyrod.
Yeah, no, that was like a major stat that everyone talked about with him.
Yeah.
He just doesn't throw for 300 yards. He can't do it.
I feel like a Fitzpatrick game, right? Probably.
Yeah, that would definitely have to be the last one. I think Barkley did have like, I don't know, maybe it was 280. It was like 280, 320, I don't know.
Yeah.
He went like lights out against the Jets. I remember that game was so funny.
Oh, it was 230. Okay, never mind then.
Barkley did?
I think so.
Oh, wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
They can't do it. Well, you know, they're 3-0. They beat up on bad teams. It's good. That's who if you're good, that's who you beat up on.
Yeah,
When you face bad teams, you don't blow it. You close them out. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's, a lot of people are saying, like, let's wait and see with them. But it's like, wow, I think at least they're a playoff team. Right? Like, I think starting off 3-0.
I mean, just because the AFC is so bad.
But that's a big part. Yeah. I mean, that's taking all that into context. The fact that this is an AFC that's not really going to have, like, there's not going to be a Steelers, basically. There's no Steelers. Yeah. That's always like a constant playoff spot locked in, which when you have one or two teams kind of drop out of the picture like that, all of a sudden it like opens up so much more space. Because now it's like, okay, well, if the AFC North only has like one good team, then, there's only so many wild card teams that you can battle against and so many spots to get, and it makes it easier to get that spot when teams just fall out of the picture. It'd be really hard for me to, like, I don't know who would make it in instead of the Bills right now. Like, you really look.
I mean, I could see like the Titans Colts.
I think the Titans just look terrible. I just think the Titans just don't have any like quarterback play happening. Mariota on Thursday just looked worse. He's regressed.
He looked terrible,
he's looked worse than he ever has.
It's their defense that pretty much holds them.
Yeah, and that's always how it's been. But like Mariota against the Jags, I was like, look, he should have a good game. Like, this isn't a good team. They're tough defense, but it's like, man, he was doing a lot of what Carr was doing. Like, it was a lot of like just like these short throws that were missing for some reason.
Or I guess what Cam was doing against the Bucs.
Yeah, well, Cam would just look like you shouldn't have been out there at all. Like, he was throwing it and it wasn't even landing in bounds. Like, I remember one route where I think it was Moore who was like doing like a deep like curl to his right to the sideline, and he just watches the ball just sailing over to like out of bounds. It's just like okay. It's like, where was that? And like that's like the last thing I remember about him this season was like that throw. Mm-hmm. So, and he still hasn't played since. Kyle Allen looks good though. I didn't know anything about Kyle Allen. No. Like he was one of these guys who just popped up, who like the one that I didn't recognize. Yeah. Like Gardner, Minshew, like guys like Minshew and Rudolph, like coming.
do them in college.
Yeah, like I really expected them to be good, even though they were late picks, because they both played in major conferences and dominated.
Yeah.
And by dominated, I don't just mean a lot of yards and touchdowns, but I mean like not that many picks, high touchdown to pick ratio. I think when you're looking at like major conference quarterbacks like that, it's not just how many yards they have, because it can be deceptive. They can have a lot of weapons around them. They could play in one of those like spread offenses, especially like in the Big 12. And
I mean, also Mike Leach for Wazoo. That's a error.
Yeah, exactly. But what really convinces you is the touchdown interception ratio. He had like 32 and 9. Mason Rudolph, I think, had over 40 in like probably also 8 or 9 picks at Oklahoma State. And I think what I was thinking the other day when watching these games, I was like, it's really not year after year, but more often than people think. Like, if you're in a team in need of a new quarterback, you don't like. There's always good guys like in those middle rounds, because that's just how it works. Like, teams, when they need a quarterback, they really need one, so they pick them very high. And you have maybe a couple of those generational guys every couple of years, but for the most part, it's going to be a lot of these guys who perform really well in major conferences, For whatever reason, maybe it was because of combines or because of the open practices that a lot of these schools hold. They just didn't pop out. But it doesn't really change who they are as like a player, I don't think.
Right.
So you can get a lot of these guys like without needing to tank, without needing to do any of that. There's always guys like that in the league.
But I think that just also helps that like Mason Rudolph didn't have to just jump into it. Like he had 2 years just to sit back and like learn,
Yeah, that does help. Also, like it does also help when you're in an organization that has seems like they know how to like develop players.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of guys that they put in the spotlight and in major roles who are failing spectacularly. It like never really seems to happen for the Steelers, and that's why they've been so consistently great for the last 20 years, 25 years,
at least
25 years. I mean, I don't know when the last time was that they started 0-3.
Yeah.
Probably almost 30 years ago, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's guys like Mason Rudolph, guys like Gardner, Minshew. There are so many more because a lot of people don't watch college either. So like the average fan like doesn't, at least in this part of the country, like the average fan like doesn't know who Gardner Minshew is. So I mean the thing is though, like once he's there, it's like it doesn't really matter. You don't know who he is. Like if you're just a fan, who cares? He shows up. But if you're someone who's running a team, it's worth knowing. Especially like if you're someone like the Dolphins, you don't have to tank in the NFL. It's not a tanking league. One, it's extremely brutal and unsafe to tank in the NFL. Because unlike in other leagues, when you lose a lot in football, like you're literally getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Like guys are getting smashed into the ground. You have guys just getting hurt maybe for their careers. So,
but give them like innovation to be like the first ones to completely do it. Like there's like half tanks or something where like the Cardinals have no secondary, so
this is
gonna get scored on. But
this is the closest I've seen to like a team actually, honestly, last year's Raiders was pretty close as well because they did a lot.
They still snuck like 4 wins.
Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. That's why it's just because they actually had some semblance of a quarterback, whereas a lot of these other really really bad teams don't. That just shows you like not that Carr's like super elite, but like just having a guy who's like capable of playing at a Pro Bowl level, and just having him there and consistently be there and be a guy that the players seem to trust to one degree or another. Even with people with no talent around you, that's good enough for a few wins.
Yeah. Well, I think
it counts
even with no talent, he's kind of just like an average quarterback, like a Case Keenum or.
He is not a Case. Come on now.
So like you look at his stat lines and you're like, oh, that's good. But then when you actually watch him play, it's just like ooh, like what are you doing?
No, well, I think in last week that was for sure true because there was a lot of garbage time yards and stuff there. I mean, you take out the garbage time, he had like 179 yards and like
solid
a touchdown and a pick. Like even that one touchdown then was when they were already down 21-0.
Yeah,
it's like you can probably count the whole game as garbage time.
Start of the second quarter.
But like that first game though, was like he looked exactly like 2016 Carr or parts of 2017 Carr or 2015 Carr as well, where he was stepping up a lot. He ran a lot, or at least a lot relative to what he's been doing. And like I said, like just when you watch him when he's like that, he throws it and he's just one of those guys where it's just you immediately trust where it's going to go. You're never nervous. He has those games like that. So that's why I would put him more where a guy like Case Keenum never really has those games. A guy like one of those kind of bench kind of borderline starters, kind of bench player quarterbacks, like that, where they don't really have those games where they're like, oh wow, look at that. Like there is none of that with them. So I'd put him, I mean, he's top 15, I would say. I just think he needs more around him though. Like he's definitely not a guy that can drag a bad team to being relevant, like the way I think Aaron Rodgers has done before. The way I think he's still capable of probably doing.
Yeah.
So he's not quite in that tier where he kind of makes everyone around him look amazing.
But so he looked good against the Broncos, who are not good.
Right, they still don't have a sack, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Considering Vic Fangio came in as like this like defensive genius for like decades. But to me, it's like you think about it, like someone's been in the league for like 30, 35 years, and you hear about how they've like tried so many times to be a head coach. They've done so many interviews, and they never got hired. Like, doesn't that tell you something? Like,
You think
it's like you know, obviously, yeah, he's probably pretty good at defense, but it's like if there's probably a reason this guy's been around that long and like actually she tried to be a head coach and couldn't until right now. Like, there's obviously a reason for that. Because the Broncos look as bad as at any point that I've ever seen them in my life. I mean, you know, as a Raiders fan, I love it. I love to see it, but it's.
Oh, dude, I love to see it. I think Broncos fans suck.
Oh,
personally,
they
probably like besides the Pats, probably one of the worst.
What
like,
sucks
fans.
about them is that their fans don't suck. They're not anything. That's what's so frustrating about them.
I guess I don't know. I thought they were like
They don't have like a personality.
true, but like when they won the Super Bowl, I felt like they were like shitting on Cam and like the whole Von Miller thing. Like,
I'm sure they were. Yeah. What I mean is like there's no like identity. You know what I mean? It's like there's no reputation of like rowdy Broncos fans. They'll get you. Look out. There is none of.
Yeah.
You hear
Not
that?
like Eagles or
No, or even the Chiefs. I would say in the West. You know, probably at least half the teams in the league I would say have some pretty reputable fan bases. But it's like that's the thing it almost made it worse for me, especially like as a kid when I remember like Elway's 2 Super Bowls, and it was like, man, I really hate this. I hate this shit. Like, I don't want to. It's the same. They're like Miami Heat fans. They're the same kind of thing where it's like good things would just happen to them, and they're just kind of like, yay.
I don't know. I felt like at least on social media they were just kind of douches in that Super Bowl win, so it kind of just rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, also it always felt like everybody's like on their side too. Like they're always portrayed as like the good.
Yeah.
John Elway was always portrayed as the good guy when he was, you know, it was always like
Peyton Manning. Kind of
and then they had Peyton Manning, of course, and who, you know, they swept this whole steroid thing under the rug. Never really got resolved. People, I bet the average fan doesn't even remember that at this point.
Yeah, I honestly totally forgot about that. So
and then once he was off, I mean, he won the Super Bowl, but he was the worst passer in the league.
Yeah,
it's all real.
Yeah, could not move. So we were talking about like kind of Kyle Allen and Mason Rudolph. How about that Daniel Jones though?
Oh yeah.
Ooh. He's down 28-10 coming back on.
You always knew he was mobile. I would say that, and he really showed that at the end with that touchdown run, which is a run that Eli never. I mean, maybe not never, but he wouldn't have done that. Oh my God, probably in the last 6 years.
4th and 5. Like,
probably not in the last 6 years. He wouldn't have ran that up the middle.
Yeah.
And North Carolina, I think, has this kind of pattern. He's a lot like Trubisky. I think that's why I was down on the pick.
Great.
Yeah, that's why I was down on him, and also why a lot of football people, fans, analysts were down on the pick is because it was this kind of mobile, tall quarterback with questionable passing credentials. Guy who's only
Josh Allen, cough.
Yeah, he's only started 13 games. I think Daniel Jones at North Carolina. Actually, that was Trubisky. Actually, that was Trubisky, I believe, was like that. But they're very similar in that way, where it's their passing potential is unproven. But he made some great throws. He's made better throws already than I think Trubisky's made as a Bear.
Trubisky has some dimes though. When he makes
on
the first
he has playmakers all over the place. He has speedy guys all around him. There's speed on the edges. There's speed at the running game. But I think Jones is probably gonna. I think, it's tough to say off one game. We sound so stupid trying to even make this decision off one game. But it's just saying whether he's going to be better than Trubisky. I mean, looking at that, I would say so. But it's also flips another narrative, which was the Bucs defense, which had Shaquille Barrett is 8 sacks in 3 games. And that's a guy the Broncos probably should have been better off keeping, but they let him go. And to see them collapse, and to see him do that against that kind of defense where he's been sacked 8 times, or he was sacked a good number of times, and Shaquille Barrett was all over him.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it says a lot about the way it was won too, not the fact that it was just a comeback. The fact that he was getting beat up, they were getting their asses kicked, and he still was making those big plays and making those big throws. I think that's really besides the fact, it's probably overhyped because, it's a New York City team, it's the Giants. But I think there is some real excitement to see out of that besides just the simple fact that it was a win. It was just the way it was done and the context of what was going on in the game, and the dominance of the Bucs defense going into this week and the dominance of Shaquille Barrett in particular. So at least makes the NFC East more interesting. All of a sudden, they're, same record as the Eagles. So better than the Redskins.
I don't think this pans out. But, so the Giants' problem isn't their offense, it's their secondary, which is, the worst. Even when Mike Evans gets open on, a 50-yard bomb with, 30 seconds left, when you're trying to play, a prevent defense. How does he get that open?
Yeah.
They just miss a, 30, maybe 40-yard field goal, but...
I had him on fantasy as well, so it was pretty sweet, the Mike Evans game.
Nice.
He had, a good 42, 41 points for me. It's pretty baller.
Was it 3 touchdowns?
Yeah. Every time I see a score update, it's Mike Evans, 20-yard touchdown, 7-yard touchdown. I was like, oh!
Yeah.
But yeah, the Giants are not a good team. No one should think that, especially with that kind of defense, in their general lack of talent, I think that they have, almost at every position. But at least, this makes them interesting, makes it into something that's not a total loss. Because it looks like, again, Jones could still be terrible. And I think even if he's at the level of Mitch Trubisky, I think the Giants will still be struggling for a long time. Because they just don't have the talent that Trubisky's had around him on either side of the ball. He has Saquon on him for sure, but his receivers are number 2 guys, Not only are they not Odell, but they're not even the tier below Odell either. Sterling Shepard makes big plays, but he's not even
a third wide receiver on a good team.
On
more like a 4.
He could be a 2. I would take him as a 2 on the Raiders, but
Raiders. Dude.
Yeah,
you got Williams, and that's it.
He'd be a number 1 on the Bills. Sterling Shepard.
Nah, John Brown. Dude, John Brown's doing great.
Sterling Shepard's better than John Brown.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. He's been way more consistent. He has way more stuff. He makes all kinds of catches. He does intermediate routes. John Brown's just go deep.
No, he's not. He's got short little. Well, yeah, he does.
That's his thing.
But then he can curl because he's so fast. So then it opens up shorter game.
Maybe they can have them both. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe they can take him away. They'll just trade him away.
Yeah.
Once they lose more games.
I'm not really believing in Daniel Jones because, so Barrett has been awesome, like you said, 8 sacks over 3 games or whatever he said. Yeah. But I don't feel like anyone else on this Tampa defense is that great. It's really just him. I guess their line is pretty good.
They've always been a team, especially in the last 10 years. They've always been a team that just has 3 really good defensive players that are just kind of scattered throughout.
Yeah.
Things Vontae. Was it Vontae? It wasn't Vontae Davis. He was the safety who quit the Bills.
Yeah. I think he was on the 49ers, right? Before that?
Yeah. Well, they've had all kinds of linebackers cycle in and out. They've had good corners. They've had good secondaries. But yeah, they've never really been a deep team. They've won the longest playoff droughts in the league too. All of a sudden, I think the Browns have the longest one, and then I think the Bucs haven't made it since 08 or 07 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, with a team like that, it's you see them play well for a while, and it's okay, how long is this going to last? And the thing was, this was supposed to be a team built on offense with Bruce Arians, anyways.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing, was to come in here. He's going to fix Jameis. The way he kind of revolutionized the Cardinals for a little while, the way he, helped give Carson Palmer one more, the longest playoff run of his career.
Yeah.
So he was known as kind of this turnaround artist who kind of turned these shit sandwiches into, something pretty nice. And, it doesn't seem like it's happening, right? This doesn't look like a team that is any different in their demeanor. And you notice that on those little big plays that happen throughout the game, you don't ever see them. In the early part of the Giants game, they were just all over the place. But it just feels like when it's okay, here's where you really can make a statement here. It's threw it past his hands, didn't really nail that throw. They gave up that catch. Oh, okay. Yeah. So that, those are just the little things that you can decide whether a team is built to last or not, and it just doesn't really seem like it with them. There was like a poll, I think, I don't know who it was from on Twitter, but it was like, what do you pick to last? Which of these like early season trends do you pick to like think won't last? And one of them was the Bucs defense, and that's what everyone voted for. And it was just like, I feel like everyone kind of understands that about them, that they're just not really going to be a whole lot. I mean, the thing is, too, with the Saints are looking a lot better in the NFC South than with Bridgewater than, maybe people thought they would. They're not going to fall away.
Right, but they're just loaded.
Yeah.
You got Kamara, you got Michael Thomas. Like, you can just depend on those two guys.
And Bridgewater won't throw picks, probably.
Yeah.
It's not really what he does. It's not what he's done at any level of football. So, the NFC South looks pretty weak, but it's,
Very
it's
weak.
the Saints to lose.
Yeah. Because the Falcons don't look that great. I was kind of surprised that they weren't, like, gunning it.
Yeah, I
with
wonder,
Ridley
like...
and Jones, like...
Yeah, I wonder, like... I think that's another team, too, kind of like the Bucs, where it's just like... they always have the nice, like, kind of some good players on the surface there. Always some guys you can name. And then when it comes to anything below that, it's just like, where is everybody?
Yeah, true.
It's like Matt Ryan. You got Matt Ryan and Julio, a couple... obviously in Julio Hall of Fame caliber. Matt Ryan is, won an MVP before.
Yeah.
And they just don't really seem to have a whole lot past that. Like, when's the last time the Falcons had a good pass rush, Like a great Jonathan Abraham, maybe, like over 10 years ago? Guys like that. Like, they haven't really been, like this kind of in-your-face team. At least not for the last 2 years. It's either been they have a really, really good offense that's clicking on all cylinders, or they just kind of fade away and they underperform.
Or just terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's happening here, and it's kind of tough to see like where they go. Not that I think they're going to have like a miserable season, but they're not. I just don't see them being a playoff team. That's for sure.
No, I mean, like, to counter the AFC being so bad, I feel like the NFC is very stacked. And it's going to be hard to pick.
It's been that way for a while.
Yeah.
With a couple exceptions. Like, it always seems like the AFC wild card is just like, it's like, wow, who's going to get in this year? Yeah, like, it's like this merry-go-round, like, it could just pick a team out of a hat. And, like, one year, eventually, even the Bills got one in,
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It just happens, it's just, which is kind of fun about it, too. Because, I think the NFL is the highest playoff turnover rate of any of the sports.
Has to be.
Maybe
because I feel like the teams are so close to one.
Yeah, it's also it's hard to win in football too. It's just like it's hard to consistently string together wins in such a physical game where people are getting hurt. And because of how physical it is, that actually, at least to me, it would always make it more mental because you have so much more you feel like you have to convince yourself of when it's a game that hurts so much and requires so much speed and impact.
Yeah.
So I think it's part of the fun though, because not only is it interesting to watch, but it creates a lot of parity, and parity that unfortunately for people in the NFC, it's been a lot of Drew Brees. It's been a lot of, at least for a while, it was a lot of Cam Newton.
Awesome.
Yeah, and except Russell Wilson, like even the Cowboys cycling in and out, the Eagles winning a Super Bowl. You see these same kind of like signature franchises for the last, and really this whole decade, constantly locking up those spots, and there's not really room for anyone else.
Yeah, but I mean also, like the AFC has either been the Patriots, the Steelers, or like Peyton Manning.
Patriots. Yeah, exactly. Like you look at like the last seven or 8 years, most of this decade, on the AFC side, and it's really just Patriots, Steelers, and then everyone else is just kind of shrug your shoulders.
That's true. I think if you go back like the past 20 years. Like, there's only been 4 AFC quarterbacks to ever go to the Super Bowl, and like one is Joe Flacco for 1 year. And then the other 3.
You know what another one was?
What's up?
Rich Cannon.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah,
2000, what? 2001?
Raiders stuck one in there.
Dude,
still counts, baby.
Raider Nation.
Yeah, 03 Super Bowl.
Oh, 03, okay. What
was 02 season, technically, but yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Because also the Bucs, right? That was that one.
Yeah, that was the year they traded Gruden to the Bucs, and then he beat them in the Super Bowl because they kept his old playbook. Yeah, it was very, very stupid
Wait,
shit.
the Raiders kept their old playbook, right?
They were still using all Gruden's
Oh, so he just knew
it.
Oh, they're running this play.
Dude, they threw 5 picks.
Oh, what?
Yeah, man, it's a terrible Super Bowl, man.
I don't even remember.
I was
we were like,
so
what,
upset.
11?
Oh,
Yeah.
my God, it was one of the worst nights of my life.
Dude, honestly, so I was like a Titans fan back then, and the Titans
in the AFC
killed,
title
or
game
the
here.
Raiders killed the Titans in
Yep.
the AFC Championship game. Dude, I like cried that whole game because it was like
Dude, I was
45
so
to 10. There was like no chance.
I was so pumped. That was one of the best
I
sports
bet.
nights of my life. I remember Tim Brown.
bet.
Tim Brown was crying. That was one of the best moments. Tim Brown finally got to go to a Super Bowl.
Yay!
That was awesome, man, because the Titans were always like a problem for them. I remember a few years
Yeah.
before that, the Titans knocked them out of the playoffs. I think that was the game after the Music City Miracle game.
Oh, probably.
So they had they usually had the Raiders' numbers, and they finally got over that kind of that challenge, that obstacle. It was great.
Yeah. And then they got smoked.
Yeah, then it all got wiped out.
Yeah.
It's amazing how like a lot of sports, like a team loses a title game, and then like that season is just like totally forgotten. Like just because like the Rangers, for example, in hockey, like nobody talks about the 2014 Stanley Cup with the Rangers. It's like it never fucking happened. Nobody talks about the Raiders free Super Bowl or the Yankees 03 World Series. Never happens.
Yeah. Well, look at these NFC teams too that like went to the Super Bowl and lost. Like the Panthers look like they're tanking. Well, I guess they won, right, with Kyle Allen. They beat Arizona. Oh, but they beat Arizona, so that's not much. Well, right, so like they're kind of not in a good situation. Like the Falcons are also not, and they had 2 former NFL MVPs. And
the Falcons nosedived after losing that Super Bowl. It was also like the nature. I think I don't know if it's true. That. It's probably not even backed up by facts, but I feel like the nature of how you lose the game. It's got to have a carryover because, like I said, because of this nature of the sport, like everything's so mental. You know, like it's just like when you get just bodied like that in front of everybody, like that's going to have a carryover effect for everyone who plays on the field and people throughout the organization. You know what I mean? Like there's so much doubt that gets introduced into your mindset when you blow a lead like that, or if you get blown out like some teams do. Because I mean from what I remember of that Panther Super Bowl, they kind of got their asses kicked.
Yeah, and Cam was, I feel like, getting pressured the entire time.
Yeah, he was getting brutalized.
Von Miller. That was Von Miller. He won that Super Bowl MVP, right?
Yeah, and he's been getting brutalized ever since.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been one of the harder hit quarterbacks in all of football in those few years since then. I mean, that's a big part of like his whole thing now is that he's hurt. He's just got this range of injuries that have people, maybe legitimately questioning whether or not he's going to be playing anymore. You know, there's a real chance that like Cam Newton doesn't finish the season all of a sudden. It'd be crazy, but it's a real chance.
Oh yeah, I could see this Kyle Allen guy playing all the way out. People are saying that he'll never play, at least as a Panther, again.
I think either way is possible. I could see a team taking up Cam Newton. I could see the fucking Raiders doing that. I could see. I could see.
It'll work.
Yeah, we got Cam, baby. I'd be so.
He can run more.
I would convince myself that was going to be a good idea too. I would totally get on board. Oh my god.
Like, oh yeah, he's healing. We got good doctors
No,
here.
he's good, dude.
Yeah.
For the Dolphins, any team, anyone who's trying to use him as like a stopgap, or he wouldn't. I don't know. He seems like someone who is capable of just being like, yeah, I'm just done playing. Sorry, bye.
Maybe. But what does he have going for him? Like, cause
he's rich as hell. He's a fashion icon. He looks great.
Dude, his hair looks trash. What are you talking about right now?
I love his hair. I like his whole look. I am pro Cam, pro all the time.
He looks high like all the time. He's just like, oh yeah.
That's what I look like. That's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, dude. So it's totally random, but I was like creeping through your Facebook, and then I saw your profile picture. Where'd you take that? Was that like?
Well, my profile picture?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that was a bug jar.
Oh, of course.
There was a picture. It was Anthony's older brother Paul. He was he like knows people because he used to go there all the time. He like knows people who run it, and he got to DJ this thing called Emo Night with like one of his friends,
Oh,
and they
wow.
played like all the old like stuff from like early mid 2000s. Like people loved it, dude. There's a ton of people there, and there's this promotional picture. Like I guess they took a picture from the booth, and they like took a picture of like the whole big floor and like the little pit that was going on, and they posted it to their page. And I think it was my friend Al Wilson who saw it because he follows them or something. And then he like zoomed in on me, he saw me at the end of the picture and like zoomed in on it and like texted it to me. And I was like, that is so good. I'm like, you can't even
Too
see
good.
my face, dude.
It's just like super blurry. It's like very.
I was like,
I wouldn't say black
I'm
light,
not gonna
but
change
like,
my Twitter picture because I just can't. But this has to
yeah.
be on Facebook.
No, the Twitter one you can't change that. It's
Twitter
too
one
perfect.
is just it's embedded on me.
All right, change it back though. So, Bills have a great game this week against the New England Patriots.
Oh, the hype's gonna be just.
Oh, so hyped.
Jesus.
But
Since the last time they thought they had a chance against the Patriots, that's like 4 years. I remember when I was working at Channel 8, we covered that like it was like a week 2 2015 game, and they sold out the RV lot for the first time since like '92,
oh wow.
and the Bills were like 1-0, and it was all this hype. It was like, okay, this is our chance right now. They just got like rolled.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this Pats team is like the best team they've ever had. Maybe outside of like 2008.
Oh
But,
my
like-
god, can you imagine if they had AB?
Yeah.
Oh my
It was-
god.
They would be basically cheating. It would be like the Warriors.
They haven't allowed a
Okay,
touchdown yet, an offensive touchdown.
With the Jets scored twice though.
Well, that
Both
was an
defensive?
offensive.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, look it up. They've only allowed like 3 offensive points, I'm pretty sure. Oh,
Yeah, no, their defense is incredible. Like their secondary is
yeah, dude.
insane.
They do everything. They get sacks, they get picks. It's just, but again, kind of like the Bills. Actually, it's like
Yeah, true.
all right.
But like they have a
who you been
competent
doing it
offense
against?
though.
You know,
So.
like who was their first game against the Patriots?
The
It was Steelers,
Dolphins
right?
Second. Steelers, yeah.
That's right. Well, they turned out to
smoked
suck too.
Yeah.
I mean, just neither of those. That's the thing that really gives them hope. I think. I mean, it does make at least the precursor to this game have a different feel because in that situation, which was the last time a Bills Hats game was that hyped. It was only week 2. You didn't have the narrative, the momentum of going 3-0. And the thing is, people say the Bills haven't beat any teams to win. So, well, neither of the Broncos or neither of the Patriots. So.
Oh,
Obviously it's kind of a dumb argument at this point in the season because it's part of the reason those teams don't have a win is because they played the Bills and the Patriots.
Yeah.
But I think it means something at least about when you're talking about the hype of the game and the chance you think the Bills might have. I think the concern is that I just don't think this Bills offense is capable of moving anything against a defense that's that good. I think they can do enough against average defenses and against bad defenses, but not against defenses like this. I just don't think that they'll be able to keep up with them.
Yeah. I think with like Gilmore is just playing insane, so he'll just cover.
I was
like,
always
Joe
a big
Browner.
when he was on the Bills, dude. I felt like
Dude, I loved him.
Why did Bills
Him and
fans
Darby?
hate him?
I don't know. I think it was just because what the Pats do is they only spend money on like cornerbacks for some reason, so they just offered him a ton of money, and the Bills were just like, no.
Well,
made
that's
no
smart
sense.
because if you have guys covering receivers, which is all everyone does now is pass. Like
Yeah.
there you go, and you can just stack
You
the
don't
box
really
up.
need a star linebacker, even though they got Van Noy too, which is he's also great.
Yeah.
But so you got Gilmore, and then you got McCourty in the safety, and I forget who are their other. Oh, Patrick Chung. Like I forget the
Yeah,
other
they're
corner.
stacked as hell. I mean, they have
Yeah.
people all over the place. And I think, against a team like the Bills where, I think Singletary will be back, but ultimately, I don't really trust Josh Allen's ability to, pick apart a defense,
Oh, no. This is definitely a Josh Allen game where he throws 3 picks, throws
It's
150 yards.
possible, yeah. I mean, he's made a lot of big throws when he's needed to, much more than I thought he would. more than he did last year for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that they'll finally give up a touchdown at the very least. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's going to be that close. And I mean, but like we said earlier, the AFC is bad enough to where I don't think it's something that everyone should be like upset about. I feel like no matter what happens in this game, unless they get really just trashed, there's just a lot to look forward to, I think, this year. It just really seems like everything's falling their way. They have such an easy schedule, too.
Yeah.
They have like a 478 winning percentage or something like that, their opponents. I mean, come on, man.
But, like, so, I don't know. It's still hard to get to, like, 10 wins, though.
Yeah.
Because you have to play the Pats twice, which it seems like the Pats are going to try to go for 16-0 and, like, avenge that 08 season. They got to play the Titans. They got to play
To me, the Titans are an easy win.
I don't think so. I think their defense is good enough to just kind of stop them.
Are you just saying that as like a ex-fake Titans fan?
Ex-Titans fan? No, I don't know. It's just like Mike Vrabel. They play such a like boring way, and then they just like sneaky. They win
close,
these like 17-14.
They're always around.
Yeah,
they're like they're one of those teams like in the like we were talking about in the AFC that just like they just pop into the playoffs sometimes. It's
well, they almost did last year.
If yeah,
the Colts that game,
well they won, and a couple of years ago they won that playoff game against the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mariota was a hero. I mean, that's what sold me at least at the time. And Mariota being good, I was like, oh my god, like he engineered this all-time great win.
Yeah. But okay, so. I think they lose that. They might win that, but they also, well, I guess and then the Eagles, I think they'll lose that.
Well, the Eagles are not showing that they're good.
True, but what if they get like healthy? They play them.
Were they missing?
Kind of soon.
Were they even missing?
Jeffrey and Jackson, right?
Oh, like Deshaun Jackson got hurt.
I think so. He might be back now, but he was at least hurt for some little bit.
Yeah, I mean that is a big deal if you're missing those two guys. The thing is, I mean, even their one win they had this year was a comeback against the Redskins.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to really storm back into the game to pull that off. And then you have those two losses after that. So, I don't know. I mean, I think if you're a team that has any designs on being good, you look at the Eagles, you look at the Titans, and, you know, I'd be like, yeah, sure, we can win that. It depends where they are, too. If they're on the road, Bills, Eagles.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are at home, so that could be a win.
Yeah.
I think the Titans is away, though.
Yeah, the Titans, I don't know. They just play, they're just messy. There's always just messy games.
Yeah,
games.
Exactly.
When was the last time you saw a Titans game and it was like, whoa, this is cool?
Well, I guess the Browns game, but that's an outlier.
Yeah.
They won.
The Browns have been a lot of fun the last couple of years, even when they sucked. Like, everything's just happening all over the place.
Yeah.
I remember that Raiders-Browns game last year, which was truly one of the most depressing things overall to watch, but it was just so much fun watching all the dumb shit happen and like all the crazy offense and the crazy comeback at the end of the game and the weird overtime loss that the Browns inflicted on themselves. Yeah. Like, just, you know, they've been pretty fun. I think even the Browns also, it's another 1-2 AFC team, and, you know, they're interesting to watch. I mean, they make things happen, things move, you know.
Well, they got so much talent too.
Yeah, I think they're what I expected them to be so far this year, and it's just like this bad team that's just always interesting to watch because everyone just seems like they're flying all over the place. Yeah. I just don't think they have the depth, especially defensively, to really kind of like actually sustain anything good. I can't see the Browns winning like 3 games in a row. I can't see Baltimore.
So I guess this whole offseason, I forgot just how much like RPOs they run, which is just, I feel like just shows how not great Baker Mayfield is. Like, yeah,
he's also been a lot more hesitant to run around. There was a play, it was actually very similar to the play Daniel Jones ran in on, where it was wide open in front of him, and he didn't move. He just kept bouncing around in the pocket. It's like he wasn't looking for that, you know. So, and part of it's just like, you know, you get tunnel vision, you know. Once you decided you're making a throw, you're gonna make a throw. And but those are the kinds of things that like you see, and it's like that's, you know, that obviously it has to change, but it's also like, okay, this is a young guy. So, I mean, it's going to take time. It's pretty rare. I think Patrick Mahomes is showing how much more on another level he is. I mean, I know he had a year to sit, but he had a situation where he comes in and it's like there is no learning curve. There was nothing, and you take it for granted that, guys like Baker, guys like Daniel Jones, like they're going to have these games where they're going to look kind of outmatched a little bit. So I think like the talent around him, like with OBJ, and a couple of the major pieces on defense, like Myles Garrett, like they're going to keep him around, but you can't string anything together, I think, with a guy who's playing like that. But he'll have his yards, he'll have his touchdowns, it'll be fun.
Yeah. I was totally all over the hype for the Browns, though, and just kind of disappointed that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like it's unfair for me because like I hate when people do it to the Raiders whenever I'm excited about them. But it's like, all right, they're the Browns, It's like it's like no matter how much talent they get, or not that they ever get a ton of talent, but like no matter how good they get or how much talent they seem to have, all of a sudden in the off season, it's like you're a team that just doesn't have the benefit of the doubt with me. Like you have to actually go and do it. Like I just can't imagine a world where the Browns are like good.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. So
yeah.
So that's really was not very scientific or anything, but that was really the basis of like why I just thought that they're not going to be that much better than last year. They were 7-9 last year, I think, right? And I feel like that's where they can be this year, 8-8.
Yeah, but the thing was, it was like after Hugh Jackson, they were like 5-3 or something.
That is true.
So I think that's where the hype was like, oh, Freddie Kitchens, like he's
great.
Like
there's always those every year. There's always like a couple bad teams that have like a hot like end of the season, and then people for some reason kind of thought. I mean, they acquired a lot more talent, but also they still have Kareem Hunt coming. Unfortunately, they have Kareem Hunt coming back, so that is also something that people might forget about going forward.
They don't even need him though. You got Chubb though. Like I mean,
it's another weapon.
I never understood that signing.
It's another weapon to have. I mean, I don't think it'll be transformative or anything, but I mean, when there'll probably be a bubble team, and that's something that could really be something that ends up in their favor going down the stretch. Those last few games when maybe Chubb he's a little hurt. He doesn't have. You need a new fresh set of legs to get some carries. I mean, those are things that are kind of underrated over the course of the season.
I guess, but Chubb is what, like 24? Like he's a second-year player?
Yeah,
he'd be fine.
To me, I mean, I would, in a good universe, no one would sign Kareem Hunt. But I think when you have a guy like that on your team, at least just speaking of talent, that's someone you find room for. You know what I mean? Like there was never a time where like Kareem, besides everything that happened, at least on the field, there was never a time where it was like, oh, I think he's going a little downhill. When Ray Rice's thing happened, Ray Rice was already viewed as a running back that was on the way out a little bit.
Yeah.
A guy who was getting didn't have a lot of tread on his tires anymore. You know what I mean? Just really getting worn down. And I think that was a bigger factor in him not getting re-signed, especially in hindsight, than anything that he did. So I think in Kareem's case, it's like, you know what? Like everyone sees that he's still a star. And I think he can play up they'll find room for a guy like that. Maybe they'll line him up in the slot, use him as a receiver, just
like
split
a Tariq
carries.
Cohen kind of thing or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. But I think a lot better than a Tariq Cohen at doing that as well.
All right, I think we're coming around that hour mark, but give me your. I guess just wrap it up. We'll just give me your 2 wildcard teams for both conferences.
Oh wow, you want me to straight up call it right now?
Yeah, call it right now. Or at least I don't know, just a general okay, just an AFC. Just assume the Pats, Chiefs.
So
Ravens,
not even a fifth of the way through the year. I guess I could say. I'm actually trying to look. It is so tight in the AFC. Oh my God.
Yeah.
1 week can change everything. Like I said, the Raiders beat the Colts. It's like they're in that 6th seed all of a sudden.
They're not beating the Colts. The Colts like Marlon Mack will just run through their throat.
They aren't, but I'm saying,
And,
if they do, that's what happens,
yeah,
which is crazy to think after how bad they've looked.
yeah.
Um, Honestly, I gotta just go. I hate to say it. I so hate to say it. I think the Chargers.
Hey.
I think Chargers and Bills will be the wild card teams.
Really?
Yeah.
See, yeah, I can see the Chargers because I feel like their 2 losses have been your
I'm
typical
only saying
Chargers
that because of
games.
Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen is through 3 weeks probably the best receiver in the league. He just seems like every time he's doing anything, it's like there's 3 yards of separation between him and anyone defending him. It's not turning into wins right yet, but it's like these are close losses. There's always right there. I mean, their win was close too. I think they had an overtime win. And their net points right now are only like I think -4, so it's like they're right there. That seems to happen to them a lot too.
Oh no, they always lose some game where their kicker misses like a 30.
Oh yeah, they have like at least at the start of every year they always have these games where it's like, wow, if these weird plays didn't happen, they would be like 4-0 right now. Like there's always
Every
like
year.
this weird shit, and it's like, okay, well they're not 4-0, and then they like rip off like 6 straight wins at some point.
Yeah.
And, I just think that's what they're going to do because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're not going to lose ground in the West. So I think Chargers will just have to be wild card. It'll just be Chargers and who's the fucking other team I said?
Bills.
Bills, yes. That's right. How could I forget?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not believing the Bills. I'm going to go probably – I'll stick with the Chargers too, but I think either the Colts or the Texans. So whichever team
I have a
doesn't win
hard
that,
time.
so.
If it's – so you think the Colts could have a chance to win
I think the
AFC
Colts might
South?
win the South. And I think
Wow.
the Texans could. Yeah, I think like their team is just like very deep, and I can't really name most of their team off the top of my head. But like I feel like they
Wow,
have a good
sick
run game.
argument.
Jacoby, but no, they always seem to stick around, and like they were the hot team last year, and I guess you lose Andrew Luck, but they've looked good, since then.
Well, just like how I felt about the Browns going into the year, not very scientific, but I just don't think I just have a hard time trusting a Jacoby Brissett-led team to make the playoffs over a Chargers team that seems to make it every year. That has so much talent, so much like a lot of talent. Like
No,
the
but, like,
Chargers
I'm
have
saying-
several
I'm saying
guys
that-
that are more talented than anyone on the Colts.
But like the Chargers will still make it too, is what I'm saying.
So
It'll
you
just
think the
be-
Bills aren't going to make it?
No, I don't think. I think they're going to
Wow.
drop off very fast.
I think their defense is too
Yeah.
good for them to like drop off, and their schedule is too easy. They just have such
Yeah,
a good.
but I feel like they're just going to lose like one of these stupid games, like against like the Redskins or.
But they're not though. That's the thing. Like everything they've shown so far.
They almost lost to the Bengals.
But they didn't, right?
Yeah, whatever. But there's going to be a game where they like should have won but didn't, or something. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah,
It's
it'll
the
happen
Bills.
at some
Like,
point. I mean, their losses are going to come from somewhere. They're not going to go 14-2. But I just think the reason I picked them is because like they've already shown me that they don't lose to those dumb teams, right? So they may have struggled against the Bengals. The Bengals made some plays on them in the middle part of the game, got some picks. But, I mean, the Jets, they came back against them. Jets have never been the same since. Sam Darnold got mono for some reason.
yeah, and their backup got hurt, so now they're playing.
And they beat up on the
so.
Giants pretty heavily, right? I mean, they made them look like they didn't really belong on the same field for stretches of the game. So, I mean, that's what you have to do. And I
But
think
those are okay. Like I thought the Jets were better than they actually were, but like the Giants are trash and the Bengals are also trash.
right.
So it's like it's not great wins. It's not even like teams that are like not really great, but they're like more like average. Or
Yeah.
something that these are like bottom of the barrel teams.
Well, what I'm saying is they're
So.
clearly separating themselves from that tier of teams. And when they hit those parts of the schedule, or keep hitting those parts of the schedule where they're facing those kinds of teams, it's just hard for me to see that they don't stack up win after win more often than not. There might be a road game where they go and, they lose by a last-second field goal on the road, because it's tough to play on the road in the NFL, no matter who it's against. So that'll happen. But I can see them going besides this, I can see them going 7-1 at home this year, to be honest with you.
That's a bold statement.
I
So
could
what?
see them
One
going
loss is
7-1 at home.
the one loss is this weekend, and
Yeah,
they win everything else.
yes, I could
Ooh,
absolutely see that happening.
they play the Ravens though at home. Just go.
Yeah, they could be.
What?
They could
The
be.
Ravens?
I
Are you
wouldn't
kidding
pick
me?
them to beat. I didn't know that, but I wouldn't pick them to beat the Ravens. But I could see it.
That's fair. I could not see that.
The Pats are the
Not at
only
all.
team I could.
Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson,
maybe the Chiefs
Hollywood
too.
Brown.
If it's not the Pats or Chiefs, I like the Bills could win. That's what when
I
I
don't know. I
watch
could see
them and I
them.
see
Yeah.
their ability to lock people down and just really suffocate people at times. That alone makes you very competitive, I think.
Well, I feel like they're deep everywhere. Like their defensive line is good. Their linebackers are incredible.
Yep, and at least the early part of the schedule, their
Yeah.
running backs are. I mean, I know Singletary's already been hurt, but he'll bounce back. Frank Gore's holding up well. And again, it's tough to say that Frank Gore's going to break down later in the year because he's just never broken down. Like
Yeah.
he does,
Going.
like he's made of iron.
Yeah,
Like he is,
robot.
and he's inhuman. And that game-winning touchdown he had, I was just like, wow, like he's still able to just pick up these big chunks of yards right when they need him to.
Yeah. That was great. All right, shifting to NFC, I guess.
This is a lot harder to say.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, you got to say the Cowboys will win the East. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel. Yeah, I think they're a lot better than the Eagles. I would say that.
Yeah.
I still think. I think the Bears are going to win the North still.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bold. The North is so stacked, though. I
Yeah,
don't know how
North
the
is
Lions
very,
are
very stacked.
still-
There's nobody without a winning record, I don't think.
Yeah, no.
And honestly, it could just be the three North teams. Why not? Fuck it.
It could be very easily.
No, you know what? I think the Vikings missed the playoffs last year, I think, right?
Yeah, they almost made it, but
Yeah, I think I
I
might.
forget who that last team
I
was.
think I'd say Packers and Seahawks probably as the two wild card teams.
Okay.
Because I
Yeah,
think
feel like
I
that's
think the
safe.
Rams are just gonna because the Rams have a slow start and they still 3-0.
Yeah.
People don't really think of the Rams right now. They think of they're a little bit diminished from last year, but it's well they haven't lost. So
They play good teams too. It's not.
yeah, in prime time, they're really they're putting it out there.
Yeah.
And that's right. The Lions are 2-0-1 as well. Oh my god.
Yeah, but
I'm not trusting them.
no, I'm also not trusting the 49ers.
No,
I
that's
think
not
they'll
happening either.
fall apart.
The
at some
Seahawks
point.
are definitely going to pass them up.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you on the Seahawks because Russell Wilson can do anything.
I just
even if
trust
their
them.
team
Yeah,
tries.
they just
Yeah.
they are deep as well.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go. So I think the Packers will win the North. I think their defense is just carrying them, and Aaron Rodgers isn't even looking good, and they're 3-0.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's a different
that's right.
dynamic than what we're used to.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll go Bears just because also their defense.
Yeah, I mean, they just
Trevathan
they
and
have guys
Mack.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Taylor Gabriel had 3 touchdowns, right, or something.
Yeah.
What from
No,
Trubisky?
'cause what was it? I forget. One of the new guys, that Don dude that has fucking Patrick Mahomes in the Bears defense. I played against him, and I already knew I was gonna lose, and the Bears scored 30 points because they got 2 touchdowns last
Oh
night.
yeah, in my other league where I'm 3-0 in, by the way.
Ooh.
I was up 40 going, and all he had left was the Bears defense.
Oh.
And I was
Scary.
they had 25 points in the first half, and I'm oh my god, am I gonna lose? Thank God they just started playing back though. They let him get some yards and points.
All right. Any other Raider snippets or just any other?
Well, I
NFL.
just give a shout out to the National Hockey League that's starting up next Wednesday.
All right. Okay.
Go Rangers! They're very stacked. I'm looking forward to hopefully this being a renaissance year. I've been proven wrong before, but they're very deep and they have the best farm system in the sport according to a lot of different outlets. So I'm excited about that. Yankees playoffs. Won the East finally for the first time in 7 years.
Woo,
Oh yeah,
go Yanks.
they're deep. Everyone's getting healthy. It looks like the whole team will be there, besides Betances, unfortunately, by the start of the playoffs, including Stanton, who came back and really is immediately killing the ball again. So that's exciting. That all makes up for the death and misery of the Raiders once again.
All right, can you explain to me though? Because like my girlfriend's she's a huge Rangers fan too, so
Really?
I like her. Yeah, and so we've been
Rangers?
watching preseason games. Yeah,
Okay.
but like, why do people give a shit about NHL preseason games? Like, why is it?
Do they?
It seems like it's more important than like any other preseason, like of any sport. But
I mean, I I don't think it's more important. I think in any sport where like it's very like physical, I think preseason can seem more relevant because like it's kind of hard to like not try hard. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's like preseason football. Like I know part of why people watch preseason football is because they miss football so much at that point. But it's also like there's just a level of like physicality and like just noise and energy for those sports that when it comes to preseason, you're just not going to get in the other sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
like spring training baseball, like it's just like they're hanging out. It's like they're relaxing.
I guess. But I still feel like hockey's more hype than football preseason because they like get into fights and
Oh yeah, well yeah, and
like
also
empty the net.
like any
they're trying to win
preseason,
these games.
there's guys like that are trying to. This is the biggest opportunity of their life, and they're really trying to put on some kind of a show for everybody because they're on the margins. They're trying to make a team. I don't know. I never even got the sense though that it's like because I don't think they even broadcast them. Are they on TV?
I think they're on MSG sometimes.
I don't think they're even national though.
Oh no.
The way NFL has it, right? Like,
Yeah, but I mean it's the
even
NHL.
NBA has, I think, some national preseason games once in a while, which is all of a sudden that's 4 weeks away from today.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Coming fast.
Excited for the Knicks to be at max out at 12 seed. It's gonna be great.
That's pretty high expectations. With
really shooting for the stars this year for the 12 seed.
Yeah.
Gonna get a nice number 7 pick in the draft somehow.
Or might get number 1.
RJ Barrett's gonna average like 14 and 7, and everyone's gonna shit their pants and think that it's only up from there when it's actually like what he's gonna do the rest of his career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with him, it's really just efficiency at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
I just hope he has enough around
35%.
He can even have a
shooting,
chance. Who's distributing to RJ Barrett? Like Alfred Payton? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Frankie Smokes?
Randall probably. I could see Randall just being like the point guard or point forward.
He's gonna have to be a lot of things for them. He's gonna have to be like a shitty LeBron for them, which he's not. He's not even capable of doing that. I mean, even though he's great, I think it's an underrated signing, but.
I mean, he's a great like third player.
Yeah, you don't build your team around Julius Randle. All the hype of this offseason, and that was their biggest signing, man. Come on.
That was definitely hodgepodge at the end, where it's just like we didn't get anyone.
They couldn't get anybody.
Yeah.
It was death. It was like I think it was Stephen A. who said it. The Knicks are dead.
Yeah. Sell the team, Dolan.
He'll never will. No one can do anything about it. He's gonna have to just take it out of his hands.
What I hate with them doing is why don't they just leave cap space and then like do one of those like buyout deals where it's like, oh, this guy we need to get rid of cap space and just like take a bad contract, but like that player is actually kind of good, which I guess doesn't really exist. But like keep the space.
Someone has to accept the buyout.
Yeah, true.
Because when you get bought out, they don't. I don't think the NBA has guaranteed contracts, do they?
No.
Because they have like signing bonuses and stuff. I'm looking it up right now. The NBA has guaranteed contracts.
But I don't. Sorry, I think I misspoke. Just not buyouts, but.
Oh no, they are guaranteed.
Oh really?
Yeah. So really, I'm not sure why then. Because if it's all guaranteed, then you get bought out, you're getting all your money.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the downside of that? Maybe you just don't want to leave the team. I don't know.
But yeah, maybe, like, one of these players that's, like, unhappy and is like, trade me or something. Or, like, maybe they trade for a player and they have to get rid of a player because they don't have enough cap space or something.
Well, you want to
And
get
then
something
the Knicks
for
could
him.
be like, hey, we have that cap space. Like, let's take on that player, and then you give me like a pick too, or something.
Well,
and then you build through the draft or something.
You don't want to buy a guy out because then you can't get anything for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying like buying out. I'm saying like with the trade or something.
Oh,
so basically
yeah.
like the reverse of like a Porzingis. That was my bad.
Yeah.
But like, hey, like we'll take that bad contract, but if you give us like 2 picks, and we'll build around that.
Yeah.
But that's not how the Knicks operate. So.
No, they don't do any. I mean, I think the Porzingis trade was fine, but yeah, they tend to not really do advantageous moves or trades or business dealings in any way, shape, or form, other than just existing in the middle of New York City and just like getting rich because of that. From the property they own and from everything else. I mean, that's really the only reason they're valued so high.
Yeah.
You really have to be, you can even say like you have to be an idiot to like not make money off the Knicks because they are run by an idiot and they make so more money than anybody.
Oh my god, they're so bad and they still like
You
sell
just have
out
to exist. And it's
Yeah.
almost genius. And he knows that. Because he knows that being the owner of the Knicks is the only thing that makes him relevant. And so like, it's just never going to change. I mean, he's not as involved as he used to be, from everything I've heard. But there's still that stink. He's still around.
He's still involved enough to where he's
for
saying
players.
sells the team, doesn't allow the New York Daily reporters to be allowed in the press conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but he's not involved on the personnel side, but he's still out there.
Yeah.
On the media side.
Players are like probably telling each other like, "Man, this guy sucks, man."
Yeah.
They're just like, they don't want anything to do with him. They don't want to go to his dumb blues concerts that he does. Like, they don't want to. Probably makes them all go. It sucks, man. Yeah. Like, no one wants to play for
hazing
shit.
Kind of thing. Yeah. All right, I think that wraps it up. Thank you, Chris, for coming on.
It's an honor.
Yeah. And, have a good night.
See you.